Hello, and welcome to DrShiny. This is a monthly tarot reading for the month of April for Capricorn. So thank you for joining us. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the reading. And for any subscribers, I am willing to draw an extra card or two at the end of the reading if you just request that in the comments. And all you have to do is be a subscriber. So, free readings. So let's go ahead and get started with your reading today for Capricorn for April. So okay, so Capricorn, we have the Page of Swords here for your current situation. This Page of Swords indicates a little bit of an eagerness to get going, to get things going. This is kind of a shoot first, ask questions later type mentality. This is very, he's an intellectual guy. He's pretty smart. He's pretty sharp, witty, but sometimes it's more of an immature type of an energy that's not quite mastered the art of subtlety here. So there can be a little bit of a tendency for you to think that you have the situation figured out a little bit better than you do, and just kind of like go from the cuff. So what that means is that you may be rushing into some kind of a situation a little bit here, or approaching things a little too hastily, and you want to be careful about that, and you want to think about the long-term implications of your goals instead of just that violent rushing in of action. Now, what's crossing you here is this Four of Coins. This represents being a little bit guarded, or having, she in this card, she's kind of clutching these little coins here, and she's dressed pretty fancy. She's got some wealth, but instead of allowing that wealth to flow or allowing it to serve a purpose in her life, she's a little bit more clinging to it. So be careful about clutching to the material situation, what you have going around you. There may be more to it than that, so that could be a very good reason for you not to just like rush to judgment, like this Page of Swords has you inclined to, and to step back and see what else could be an implication of this besides just this material situation that you're kind of clinging to. There's more to it than that. And you have two fours right next to each other, and that tends to be an indication that there is a need for some pause or some rest, or something like that. But so what we have for what you're traveling away from, or what you're moving away from, leaving behind in the past, that sort of thing, you have this Four of Swords. So the Four of Swords is, like I said, very much involved with resting or having a little bit of quiet time, me time. You're moving away from this, so the situation as it was had you feeling a little bit more restful, and there was a tendency for you to sort of not have to be overthinking, or there was a sense of peace around you. It was almost like you were in a cocoon. There was a nice safety, and now you're kind of moving away from that, so you're feeling a little bit more threatened. You're feeling like there's something to do, there's something to think about, something to work through, and so that's kind of leading you to get into this more protective. You instead of shifting from the Four of Swords to the Five of Swords, you're shifting from the Four of Swords to the Four of Coins. So the Four of Swords has a very restful and peaceful energy, whereas that Four of Coins has a lot of anxiety attached to it, of I don't want to lose this. I'm sort of clinging to a circumstance. So interesting transition for you to be making there. But what you're headed for in the long run, or not the long run, but this is what you're headed towards, the energy that you're headed towards. And you have the Page of Coins in the reverse. Okay. So interesting again that I like to pay attention to the relationship of the cards in the spread, instead of just focusing on the meanings of the individual cards. I get a lot of insight from how these cards relate to each other. And you had your Four of Swords for what's in the past, and another four for what's crossing you. And then you have 2 pages for the current situation and the present or the future situation here, what you're headed towards. And in the case of the Page of Swords, this guy is really quick to act on some thought or instinct, and that can sometimes not quite go off without a hitch. But in the case here of the Page of Coins, this is the same sort of childlike, sometimes impulsive energy, but it's not to do with thought and intellectualism so much as it is about wanting something in the material realm, or getting a project going or something like this. But now in the reverse, he's having some trouble. There's a little bit of a difficulty with manifesting the things that you want. There's a little bit of perhaps like financial trouble, or you're having trouble mastering the material realm. It's like you might be spending too much money, not good at saving or something like that. And this can be the reason almost for this situation to occur, even though this is what's coming in the future. What it is that you have to kind of sit aside. You have to think about the future and how you're going to utilize your money in the future to avoid getting into these situations where you feel like you need to clutch onto your money so much. So that is to say, you don't, to be a master in the material realm, or to have wealth or accumulate wealth, you don't necessarily have to have this miserly clutching mentality. But you have to think ahead. You have to be able to set something aside and at the same time allow your money to flow and to work for you, right? Otherwise, you're going to end up feeling this need or this desire to have more, and it's going to fuel your actions and your attitude in such a way that doesn't lend itself to this type of abundance that you're looking for. So the foundation of the situation here is the Six of Cups. So the foundation kind of represents what is the overall lesson here? What is the universe trying to teach you? What is the frame of the whole, or foundation of the whole situation that you're going through? And what you have is the Six of Cups. Now the Six of Cups is a very, very nostalgic card. This is like looking back into the past and thinking about how great things were. So as the foundation here, what's going on is that your situation is dynamic. It's going to change through time, and things are, the only constant is change, right? That's what we say. And so what this is saying is that if you're fixated or clinging to a particular situation or order of, not order of events, but if you like the way that it is too much, or if you're looking back at how it was and you really want it to be that way again, then that's going to lead you to getting a sort of stagnant energy about your life, which is not open to that constant change or whatever might come into your life. And so this is teaching you to be a little bit more open with your finances and with your life in general and with the material situation around you. So a lesson here is to be learned by figuring out that the material isn't everything, that you're not going to completely derive your enjoyment or your happiness from a material situation, but you're going to have to find that sort of internal comfort or internal stability, right? So what we have for your crowning thoughts, another way of looking at this foundation is this is kind of what's going on in the subconscious. What the subconscious is welling up in you and trying to teach you something or tell you something, right? And what you have in your conscious mind, the crowning thoughts here, is the Sun in the reverse. Okay, so this actually has a pretty specific meaning. When you see the Sun normally represents knowledge or knowing something, right? But in the reverse, it's a false sense of knowledge. So you think you know something that is actually not true. You might know how it is, but it's probably a little bit different than you think it is, right? So, I'm trying to think. I know a Capricorn right now who has an issue with a neighbor, and They just got into this house and everything, but the neighbor that moved in is now kind of ruining the whole situation. It was very peaceful. It was nice. And now, the neighbor is kind of making it not so nice. And it kind of sucks because the person has put like their entire life savings into getting this house. And so it's a little bit unfortunate for them that, this massive investment that they made is now a little tainted by the surroundings. But it also could end up being a blessing in disguise, right? So this person thinks this is just a horrible, bad thing. But when you turn around and look at like the financial picture, there was a little bit, the house was a little bit out of their means. It was a little bit too expensive. And so by moving in and creating a dissonance in the environment and making it into something that's not quite as good as it was at the start, they may be kind of giving them a blessing in disguise by allowing them to sort of release from clutching to that environment that they loved so much. Now they can turn around and start looking at possibly selling that house and maybe turning a profit and ending up in a better financial situation, where they're not going to have to work away their whole life just to pay for that house, right? So this is a very specific example of how this might apply to some of you Capricorns out there, because there is a Capricorn I know who's going through something like that. So, the idea here is you don't always know exactly how this situation is working out. Sometimes things are happening for the better, even if it seems like it's the ultimate drawback or negative, right? So have some faith to the change that occurs and start to adopt this mentality of, whenever something happens and you think it's bad, stop and think, well, is there a way that this might be actually working out in my benefit? Is there a way that this could be a good thing? And what you'll find is, even if that's not the case, even if it's not really true that it's working out for your benefit, it is a bad thing. If you kind of develop the habit of looking for that good thing, looking for how every single change leads to new opportunities, this is how you really achieve success. All successful people really do this. Every struggle is an opportunity to do something. I remember a few years ago, my house was destroyed by a hurricane, and in the process, it was very sad at first, and we were very troubled by this, obviously. But then we found that a lot of like high-rise hotels at the beach were offering to house people who were displaced by that hurricane. And it was like cheaper than our normal monthly rent. And of course we didn't have to pay our normal monthly rent because our house was destroyed. So it actually turned out to be like a 2-month vacation for no more than we were already paying for our house. So it was really kind of cool. It was kind of fun. And we enjoyed ourselves quite a bit. Kind of made lemons out of lemonade, right? Or lemonade out of lemons. Okay, so the advice for the situation is this 8 of Cups. And this guy is saying to sort of like to get away, to withdraw a little bit, to not, instead of trying to face this problem through confrontation or to go head on here, this is to kind of, let it go, like drift away, detach from the situation a little bit if possible, try to find a way to get your attention off of the situation. And then as some time goes by and with a little bit of distance, when you come back to the situation, you might find that it doesn't really bother you quite as much as it used to. But it may inform your decision. Like I said, you may want to use however this material situation is asking you to give up something. You may want to use that in your benefit, but it's probably not the time to really focus on that aspect of it right now. It's probably the time to just sort of get your mind off of this situation so that you can come back to it with a fresher perspective that's not quite so involved. And with a little bit of distance, hard decisions become a little bit easier to make, right? So it's asking you to kind of like let go a little bit, enjoy yourself, treat yourself, right? I don't know if you've watched Parks and Rec, but there's an episode where 2 of the characters just go treat themselves to whatever they want on one day of the year, every year. It's a way to let go, to relax and everything. So you want something like that. Take a spa day. Now, for the current environment, you have this 9 of coins in the reverse. And that's an indication of refusing to take a look around and see what all that you've already accomplished. So somebody is really trying hard to accomplish things in your current environment. They are their nose is at the grindstone. Now, this doesn't typically represent you because this is your environment. So this is somebody around you, or somebody who's contributing to the situation that you're finding yourself in. But they don't have this feeling of having enough, of looking over all of their accomplishments and feeling like, well, I'm good. So the idea here is somebody is kind of possibly lusting after the material around you. So somebody's really, and they may be getting on your nerves with this, to where you want them to just chill out, and it could be what's kind of bothering you here. Maybe they're trying to get something out of you. But you know, they're on their own journey, and they are on this quest of material possession and satisfaction. So you know, it's probably the kind of situation where withdrawing from that person is going to be really the only way for you to get away from that energy. You know what I mean? You're not going to convince them to change their path. They generally have a kind of a determination. So rather than trying to win them over or change the path, it's going to be better for you to just sort of, you know, take a hands-off approach from this and just separate yourself. So for your fears card, you have this 7 of coins. And so what this means is you're a little bit afraid of working your life away and never reaping the benefits, or never seeing it come to fruition. In this card here, you see there's the 2 little, I don't know, they look like deer or llamas or something like that, but they are looking at this tree and the fruit growing on this tree. And you can see the root down here is love. So they're looking at this, and they're anticipating a harvest here. They're anticipating reaping the fruits of their labor, right? And being in the fears card, you're afraid of not reaping those benefits of your labor, of basically waiting around for things to work out and it not happening. So, you know, the message here is to have some faith that things can work out. And part of the way that you develop that faith, it's not like you just flip a switch and you have faith, right? You have to learn how to have faith. And that's kind of what this is about, is learning that even if situations arise where there's some difficulty or things are not going kind of according to plan, there is always some way to make the situation a jump-off point for some new venture or aspect of your life that will serve you even better, right? So that's kind of how you develop that faith, is by having confidence in your ability to move forward from these situations and to be okay no matter what happens. The overall message, or where you're headed in the long run, fits very well within that last message, which is the Fool. Now the Fool, you know, we tend to, in our society, think of the Fool as a negative. We would think of that as like an insult to call someone the Fool. But in this case, the Fool is actually a wonderful card. It's one of my favorites in the deck, where the Fool has this energy of, I'm taking off on an adventure. I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn something along the way, and I'm going to have a lot of fun, right? And this is a childlike energy. This is like starting out on that road and having just so much pure good faith that things are going to work out. And the universe tends to kind of protect you in that situation. You know, in most of these cards, the figure is kind of about to go off of a cliff or into a lake or something. And there's always like a little animal or something kind of pulling back and preventing them from just spilling over the cliff. And the idea there is that the universe, you know, you've heard the term fortune favors the brave, right? Well, the universe tends to look after people who have this sort of faith. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you don't have faith, if you're always worried, then you really always have something to look over your shoulder and watch out for. But if you have this sort of strong willpower and faith that everything is going to carry forward properly, it tends to work out that way. And it's just kind of, it's a law of attraction type thing, where your mentality and your confidence affects how your subconscious is organizing your life around you, right? So be careful with what thoughts you allow to ruminate in your mind. You want to be feeding yourself good thoughts that are conducive to a healthy, happy lifestyle, or to success in general. Okay, so that's about it for your monthly reading, Capricorns, for the month of April. Thank you. Please leave me some comments. Let me know what you thought, if it resonated or if it didn't resonate. And as always, if you are a subscriber, I'd be happy to draw some extra cards for some additional clarity for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.